Welcome back! There are literally hundreds of ways to liven up portraits, but in this video I'm going to show you how to shoot dramatic backlit portraits. Backlighting adds a romantic and dreamy feel to your images, so let's see how it's done. Shooting towards the direction of the sun is seen by some photographers as undesirable, but it can produce dramatic images when done in the right way. It means that your model doesn't have to squint by looking into strong sunlight, and you'll also avoid harsh shadows being cast across their face. In theory, you can shoot backlit portraits at any time of day as long as the sun is out. Sunrise or sunset is the best time for practicing backlit portraits, as the sun will be lower in the sky and less intense. During the golden hours, it's also easier to attain dreamy effects such as lens flares. To start with, we made sure to arrive at our location with enough time to catch the setting sun. Next, we prepared our kit for shooting. A fast Canon prime lens was ideal for making the most of this low lighting, and it also helped to diffuse and soften the backlighting. We chose to use a 50mm lens, but an 85mm focal length will give you a greater working distance between you and your subject. In terms of location, you need to shoot in a fairly open space, or rather, one in which the sun will enter the frame. During the day when the sun is high in a clear sky, you can create backlit images in most outdoor locations. Before posing your model, switch to manual exposure mode and select a wide aperture such as f2, depending on your lens's widest maximum aperture. If it's midday and the sunlight is strong, then start with a base ISO of 100. If the light levels are lower, such as during the golden hours, you might need to boost the ISO up. Next, we move on to positioning the sun in the frame. Consider how you'd like your model to pose and use live view mode to compose. An easy way to start with backlighting is to position the sun just outside of the frame or behind the model's head. With most of the direct sunlight out of the frame, you'll avoid too much light leaking in and any problems with autofocusing. It's best to switch to spot metering mode and then select an AF point on your camera over your subject. This will meter more effectively for the subject's skin tones. Direct sunlight can really throw off your camera meter, so dial in some positive exposure compensation if your subject is still underexposed. The camera's autofocus system can often be fooled by bright backlighting and struggle to lock focus. Switch to manual focus and tweak it yourself, then stay at the same distance from your subject if you need to recompose. Once you're happy with the position of the sun and the exposure, fire off a few starter shots. Move around with your camera to play around with the position of your model in relation to the sun. If you shoot lower and look up towards them, you might find it easier to frame the sun behind them and to create a hazy glow. Or use the sun itself as a feature by including it in the frame. The results you can achieve really vary with the time of day, location and light intensity, as well as your shooting angle. If you don't like the washed out look and lens flare, use a lens hood and position your subject in front of something that can filter the light, such as trees, foliage or tall grasses, which will then reduce the amount of haze. For artistic flair, ditch the lens hood. Use your subject to block the majority of the sun, then position yourself off to one side to allow little light to creep out and hit your lens.